Hello. How's it going, everyone? Whew. Oh, I didn't put chat up. Hang on. Hey, hello. How's it going? All right. Probably gonna be a short stream today. Just feeling a little under the weather, I think. Let's see what we've got. A couple things been working on this week. How you doing today, Lo? Bevy examples, no. Blender, no. I upgraded a Flappy Bird clone to 0.15 this week. I didn't click the button fast enough, so the corgi fell off the screen. There we go. Uses native collision detection, so the AABB 2Ds and bounding volumes inside of Bevy, so no AVN or anything in here, which is pretty cool. And then this was really cool too. I think this will run. Yeah. So this is hopefully working. No, it's not working. I was debugging some text font stuff. This is effectively the same game running on a Game Boy Advance emulator. Hey, Yappa. Obviously the collision detection isn't here because you can just kind of go through all the things, but this actually runs on a Game Boy Advance, which is pretty cool. Oh, apparently it doesn't run. Oh, yeah. So for some reason the debug is too big, but release works. And then the magenta here is just me debugging the text rendering and stuff. I was trying to get the score to show up as you went through, but I don't know how to work with text on a Game Boy Advance yet. What else did I do this week? Did a new demo for relationships that's gonna be in a video probably Monday or Tuesday. So it uses picking to select these ballistas. You can go from a ballista to like one of the UFOs. Rotation is wrong here. But it uses relationships for a bunch of stuff. So relationships are in main right now. They're not in the released version. But you can pick any of the UFOs. So it's like one-to-many relationships are the only kind that exist currently. That's the parent-child that got genericized. So this is pretty cool. This is using mesh picking, scenes. Scenes have a little bit of a bug right now. I think because they opt out of the regular scene spawning, or they opt out of the regular spawning mechanisms. Yeah, I do sound sick. Okay, yeah, we'll keep it to like an hour then. I didn't realize my voice sounded like this until I started stream, actually. But I couldn't sleep, so I decided I'd do stream anyway. But yeah, relationships video probably next week. That's all very cool stuff. This is all on main, so it'll be a labs video. But basically the idea is that you can get, for example, targeting and targeted by. If you put targeting with an entity on another entity, then that entity's targeted by will get filled with all the vex that are targeting it, or all the entities that are targeting it, automatically by Bevy, which is very, very cool. So you could do this kind of thing before, but you had to kind of manually code it. And then we've got the actual game that we've been working on. which is starting to look pretty good. I like the outlines. I like the dark outlines. I like the color stuff. Two things that I know that I want to do. I want to do like a pop in of the geometry here. So maybe a vertex shader today. That could be small. The other thing is I think we're doing the event for tracking this. So we should be able to pop in a new level as well. So right now, I think when we do our level spawning, we're just picking one arbitrarily. So we probably need a resource of some kind. I haven't put the level spawning logic in the level spawning file. Where did I put the level spawning logic? There we go. So right now we're just kind of like arbitrarily spawning a level in startup. I think this is the startup function. Setup, yeah. So do we have states yet? I think we do. States is coming from somewhere. So I've got asset loading and next, which are really terrible names for for states. Kind of like determining whether I want to do another variant inside of my states or a substate, because this could be like at some point we'll have a main menu, and at some point you'll go into the game and next will become like, I don't know, playing level or something. We don't have a menu or anything. I think I want to, like, if we're going to do menus, I think we're going to wait until 0.16 to do menus. Because directional input for controllers is landing in 0.16. So that would be really nice to have for any kind of menu like that. So really what we need is, let's find the game over event. We need two things. One is going to be when we run the game. Oop, I don't want to run release. When we run the game, this is going to get into that area. Why did that crash? Attempting to create an entity commands for 35, which already got despawned. Interesting. Okay, so we've got a race condition in a system somewhere. Loading ready, state names would be better. No. Better than what? Oh, then next. Yeah, I mean, next is a terrible name. Next is just, what is next? Next is the default state for the Bevy asset loader example, is what that is. If we go into Bevy asset loader and we go into examples and we go into, I don't know, I probably used progress tracking or something like that. In here, they use my states and they use next and asset loading. Because the only thing this example cares about is the asset loading itself. So yeah, our state names are going to have to change. For sure. Maybe we do that now. Maybe we stop calling this my states. So let's call this like app state, I guess. And I guess this would be like app load, right? Like not asset loading, but app load, because we're starting up for the first time. So whatever we do here is eventually going to be like whatever we do for the main menu. So it'll end up being like something like app load, right? Like main menu. Playing or something like that. Maybe there's other menus that we need to get to or something like that. But something a little bit more like that. And then this we'll just call this like playing for now, because we don't have any sort of menu to do. Let's call that app state. Not sure what Rust Analyzer is doing here. There we go. That's probably going to touch every file. Yeah, okay. Let's let's finish this MyStates refactor and then we'll so app state next is not going to be what we're going to do. We're going to do app state playing. Asset loading is not what we want either. We want app load. So this should all work. Unless I've used that somewhere else. So realistically, we should be able to throw that in at any point. What are we building? Right now we've got a very small game. This is like level 001 or something like that. So you are some character. We haven't really made the character yet. You pick up these boxes and then you have to like get them to the end zones. And it's going to be kind of like a puzzle game based on that kind of mechanic. I have grand visions for the way this color shows up. Because you'll notice that the color is tied to the box here. So if I throw the box off, there's no color on the level. And I think that that's really cool from like you could have hints in the world and uncover it by throwing the crates around and stuff like that. So those are the grand plans in the end. I don't know if we'll be able to make that kind of a mechanic fun. But we've got a decent look, if you ask me, starting to form. We've done some like outline shader work. We've done the mechanics for picking stuff up, running it around, getting it into the end zone here. Got a couple of custom shaders. Yeah. Yeah, so the color will reveal things, right? Like theoretically, this is all blue, right? So right now the crate is just unveiling all color, but we can configure it to reveal a specific color. So if you were trying to get to like the blue end zone or something, we could have blue hints unveiled by the blue crate kind of thing. But for right now, for today, I want to get into we can get a crate into this end zone here. And I want that to trigger sending you to the next level. So we're taking a look at some of the loading and stuff like that. Hey Xavier, how's it going? So that's why we're looking at states right now. Because we've got app load and playing. Hey Roberto, how's it going? The levels are going to be auto-generated? No. I do them in Blender. So I think the level we were looking at is this one. I am not great at Blender, but you can see where there's like a box and a spawn point for the player and like a couple of level things and then the goal at the end. So no auto generation, just Blender. Fine, thanks. And you? You probably hear it, but I'm feeling a little sick today. So we're gonna go for an hour or two, maybe a little less than normal. Yeah, so we've got upload and we've got playing, and then we've got I'm trying to think about level loading because we could do a substate, but I don't really want to have state inside of that state, if that makes sense. Like I don't want to have like a level with a number in it. Pause state. We could definitely do a pause state. Pause states are fairly easy. I haven't implemented one in this game, but I've done it in other games. Basically, you end up with just like run conditions, right? So it's like you have a state, you do add systems like this, and for different values of that state or that substate, these systems either run or don't run. And then when you enter the pause state, maybe like the main menu comes up and stuff like that. But that'll be a substate. That won't be a top level state, I don't think. One thing that I do want to get to eventually is like, I like time slowdown mechanics. I feel like maybe time slowdown is not a wide enough category. When you think about dodging that happens in games, like critical dodges and time slows down, or if you think about like Hollow Knight, where if you get hit, it freezes everything for a couple frames and like really drives home that like something happened. I really like those little like modifications to regular timeline. I think they're fun and also really drive home certain points. But yeah, pause state would be substate, and then we'll throw run conditions on everything. And basically, like, if we're paused, then you can't throw anything. If we're paused, then don't run the raycast system. And then when we switch into the pause state, probably also... That's another thing that I wanted to do, actually. Let's bring up... Might be in the design file, I don't know. I haven't been good about keeping this design file up to date. Oh, right. I was showing my friend how Emacs works. Let's see. This is going to be pausing. And I want to do like probably like a Gaussian blur on the post process. So when we pause, we might throw on a component on the camera that turns the gameplay into a Gaussian blurred like background, which probably I think means that will mean doing a separate camera for UI, but I don't know that for sure. But that'll be another like we did the section texture render phase. That'll be another kind of thing like that. It'll be a post-process pass. So that we have everything that we did, and then the next pass basically blurs everything. Yeah, what else are we doing right now? We're doing like level loading in next level. So right now I'm trying to think about how I want to do level transitions. I think I want to take advantage of a substate. I don't remember. I don't remember if we can like insert substates repeatedly. Right, so we derive substate. It's based on whether we're in the game or not. So for us, it'll be playing. And then this has game phases. And I think we would just want to like restart that. What do I mean by substate? So Bevy has state machines built in. Maybe, is this going to be the best way to do this? Bevy has state machines, right? So you can have an enum with a bunch of variants. These are all top level states, we'll call them. So if you transition from one of these to another, which you can do, hopefully it's right here. Yeah. So you can set the next state to any one of those variants, right? And by doing that, you effectively have this state machine. You can only ever be in one of the states. You can do things like, hey, only run this system if we're in a specific state. So enter, exit, that kind of thing too. When you enter the settings menu, maybe you spawn in the settings menu, like that kind of thing. That's all top level stuff. That's like global state. This is not a component. It's basically like a global resource. So there are other kinds of states that you would want to do only inside of specific top level states. So for example, pausing. Pausing is a great example because pausing really only has an effect if you're in the game playing it. So if you are in the top level state playing, right, or in game or whatever they call it in this example, then you could have another state that is only enabled in that playing state for things like whether you're paused or not, or a different one for what game phase you're in, like things like that. So a substate is just a state that only exists inside of another state, more or less. Oh, interesting that they use a paused state or a paused value here and not a paused state. Oh, this is computed states, that's why. So there's top level states, substates, and computed states can take other information in and set some values. So if you have a number of other states that are doing other things or resources or whatnot, you can kind of use all of those to determine whether you are paused or not, or whether you are in whatever state or not. I don't know that we have much use for that yet. The thing that I am thinking about right now is once we're in the playing state, we have levels, and levels are all basically the same state. Computed states are like derived signals in a sense. Yeah, you could think of them like that. That's close enough. Right. You basically implement this trait. This trait says, oh, based on these other states, what should this state be in? So yeah, basically a derived signal. I think the question is, we could do level loading in a number of different ways, right? Like I could have a resource that has an ID that points to a specific level, and whenever that resource changes, then trigger like cleanup and stuff. But if we're going to trigger cleanup, then states makes a lot of sense because we have something called state scoped entities. See if I can find this. State scope. Do this. So where is this? If we do enable state scoped entities on some game state, then when we spawn things in, we can spawn them in with this component called state scoped. And what this will do for us is basically automatically clean up everything that's labeled with that component. So when we change states, we don't have to worry about like individually despawning, you know, the level and anything that got pulled out of the level and et cetera, et cetera. As long as we make sure that it has all of the state scope component on it. So I think, to be able to take advantage of this. Request a resource. Yeah. Basically. So I want to take advantage of that. But the other thing is, I can't remember offhand whether we can just reinsert that state or not. Where is my application? Got too many demos. Right, so we've got app state, and we could do I don't know, what would this be? Like a string or something? Some ID? This can't be app state. This would have to be like level state or something. Can't remember if this is substates or substate. Substates. It is giving me an error, so maybe we can't do that. So we can't use default there. I don't think we want default anyway. Oh, substates require source. I think this is only on main. I don't think we can use that macro. But yeah, there's like, and I guess like this is really going to be multiple things anyway. Like right now, it feels weird because it's just level to level to level to level to level. Right? But probably we want to do like level to end state level recap. Like you scored XYZ or something, you know? Or you finished in N seconds, or something like that. So probably but then we don't get that. This is in playing. Why not create a level trait, then have some methods for initialization, cleanup, etc.? Why not create a level trait? Because I think the initialization and the cleanup and all of that is all going to be the same. I don't actually think it's going to be across multiple different implementations. Right? Like if I was going to do a trait, then that would imply that every level would have a different implementation of like what it meant to clean up. And I don't think we're going to have different cleanups. I think the cleanup is always going to be the same. It's going to be like take everything out and despawn it, right? So a trait doesn't really make sense there. We can just write the function and use it if that's going to be the case. Substates still not liking the way that I'm writing this. Variant or associated item not found. Oh, so we have to have default? So we have to have default, but we also can't have... We can't have extra values inside of the enum that default is on. The default attribute can only be used on enum variants. This isn't a function. I don't know why I called it like a function. So we could manually implement default. Which would be fine. And then we just like... I don't think we're ever really going to have a default, though, thinking about it. Impl default for level state. And then what is this? This is going to be like the name of the level from the GLTF file. For now, everything is in the same GLTF file, so we can just grab the named scene here. And then maybe in the future we have to do something else with this, but... we can't derive default and also impl default. So we haven't registered this at all yet. I think we're just going to move forward with this. My thought is still along the lines of like, when we finish the level, 38. Let's take a second to look at whatever that was, because that is... interesting. So does that mean that observer is firing twice? Let's add a, I don't know, like a warn in here for now. So at least next time that happens, we'll see a warning for how many times it tried to attempt to despawn. I don't know why that wouldn't be there yet. Unless the recursiveness was firing multiple times. So we have goal event, hold point, right? The goal event happens when that goal event happens. So this is when we get that into the final goal, or rather any goal. Right now it's just one. We can make this two in the future. Is the goal event getting triggered twice is the question then? The There are two places we use it, 209 and 214, which seem very close together. Oh, we run it for any collision. That's why. I think we need to build this up and then fire it afterwards. Okay, so let me leave it to do here because it's not really what I want to work on at the moment. So basically, we're going to build up unique goal events for entity and target. This will fix the panic by making sure that we only have one event when we're trying to despawn. Yes, that is exactly what I'm writing in here. So I actually don't know how far the stream delay is at the moment. Hopefully it should be low. Yeah, it's pretty low. Okay. Why is the resolution still high? I don't know. Yeah, so we will dedupe that. I don't think I'm going to dedupe it right now. I want to stick with the level stuff for the moment. As we get into this, it might turn out that that's important to do at the right now, but so we still need to, let me reorganize my windows here so I'm not jutting across the screen 50 million times. We need to enable state scoped entities if we're going to do that. Oh, see, they have a paused substate in this example. They've got a, yeah, it is paused state, and you can go between the two. And then state scoped for paused on the pause menu. And what else? The paused enum has running and paused, and then we have to add the substate just like this for our non-pause substate. And then all of these end up having conditions that are like run if in state running rather than paused. We don't need that at the moment, but that's definitely a thing. So let's add substate here. And this is, what do we call this? Level state? So this is actually where we're going to want our spawning logic. So let's do, this isn't observers, right? Yeah. So we're going to do basically this. On enter level state, level. Feels weird immediately, actually. Let's do spawn level. But this won't work, will it? Because we need a value there. So I don't think we should be putting any data in level. That's what that tells me. I know that there was some concern when this feature was being developed that people would just start putting like more and more and more data in states, and that they really shouldn't. But let's do on enter level, state level, spawn level, and then spawn level will end up having a resource. This is all in lib, isn't it? Let's move it. Do we have anything in level spawn? Okay, player spawn. Then we're going to move this all to level spawn. So we'll take this level, we'll take the substate. Because otherwise main's going to get super messy. Or not main, but lib. So we're going to add our substate here. We're going to find where I defined that. Here. Pull this in. Level state is no longer going to have that. It's just going to be like a level. App state we need to bring into scope. Default can now be automatically implemented because we're going to be using a resource. Let's say derive resource. And let's do reflect. Be good citizens of our own project. Reflect resource. Struct current level. And this will have a string in it. And we'll impl default for current level. Which will be, what, level 002 was, I think, the right one? So when we get into this state, we'll look for this resource. This resource will get created when we enter, I think. All right, on enter, level state level. The question is, how do we switch levels? And that just means that we need to keep that resource in line with what we want to use it as. So I think that'll be fine. Let's say I guess we'll have a win state in the level too. Like level and whether you hit the goal or not. So we have current level. Spawn level is a function that needs to exist. Doesn't do anything yet. It's going to do this. This on level spawn is also going to come in. I think, if I remember correctly, this is like one of the meteor systems that currently exists. So maybe we want to stick it in a lower crate or not a lower crate, but a see mod on level spawn. We'll drop this in here because it's kind of a long function. And then in main, player raycast, that needs to get moved out at some point. This. So in level spawn, we are going to have to either query for that resource or create it. I think we have to query for it. I think I want to query for it. So what that means is we will take these and move these arguments in here. So we get spawn level, command spawn, some level. I didn't get the GLTF out here. Yeah. We want the GLTF that holds all of our files at this moment. And then on level spawn comes from the sub file at this point. Why isn't that? Oh, I didn't make it pub, did I? Oh, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that needs to come in here. Let's go up to our main up here, go into on level spawn and just drop that whole thing in here. That should make it easier for us to just go here and delete a whole bunch of stuff, but keeping everything that we kind of need. That all comes from crate, and then half of this can get removed. Cool. So all that logic should be the same. This is still not pub because I keep forgetting to make it pub. So level spawn should run spawn level. This app state probably needs to go up. Did I move the wrong state in? I think I did. No, source app state. This is level state. Okay. So this should break. It might work. But the goal here is basically okay. So we made it. We don't have any kind of resource to like point to what the next level should be. So maybe we start off with just respawning the same level. So this is going to be current level. Res current level. Why is that an issue? Because I didn't make it pub and it's in another file? Is that unsatisfied trait bound? I don't know exactly what was going on there. Why is that boxed? Expected stir found string, yes, because that's the argument. Oh, because that function accepts the equivalent of a boxed stir. Okay, that makes sense. Basically, the type that needs to go in here needs to be something that is equivalent to a boxed stir, which makes sense. Does that mean we can just do this? No. Named scene, scene root, clone. So I think that's all good. The name, we'll just leave it at level for now. The spawning here, we want this to be state scoped, because this will handle a ton of our cleanup. Um, level state. Level. I guess there should be a loading state here too, right? Now that I think about it. But we don't have any real access at the moment to know whether that's loaded or not. Let me just do like a loading state here and mark it as a to-do. So we've got the substate. Yeah, that's basically the question that I have right now is whether that will trigger. I know there's some functionality where you can opt into state transitions for the same state. But I don't remember exactly what that looks like. I think by default it doesn't. So you have to call some function to enable it. But I couldn't before, for the life of me, remember what that function is called. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is why I opened this earlier. Yeah. While the identity transitions exist internally, the default schedules intentionally ignore them, as this behavior is not commonly needed or expected. Because a real game would have like a loading state and et cetera, right? So you would like be changing states as you moved from level to level, which is kind of the direction I would rather go in rather than forcing it to do like a re-enter. But this custom transition would let us do that if we wanted to. So I think actually what I want to do is on enter, let's have a loading state currently. And I don't think we have state scoped resources, so I think we're gonna be responsible for handling this ourselves. But this is gonna be like setup level or something. And do we want to know about the current level? I feel like we don't care about the current level. Because if we're in loading, then we need to be doing something anyway. So I think we just want commands. Right? And this will be commands.insert resource current level. And for now, I'm just going to default it. So when we set this up, the current level that we're going to get is just going to be the same level over and over and over. And then when we go to spawn the level, because after this we should be doing the next state stuff. So like mute next state, was it res state, level state? Next state dot, what is this function called? It's not set, is it? res mute next state app state and then set. Res mute next state and then we get set. And this is going to be level So we're going to insert the resource with the name of the level, and then we're going to transition into the level state, which will handle actually spawning that level from the GLTF. This, at some point, is going to get changed. So we will, at some point in the future, I think, want to check to see if there's a current level. Something like current level, res, current level. Right, option, res, current level. Then if let some current level this would theoretically get us to like the next level. We just are not going to do that right now. But now we have a place for it. Isn't there a way to make a state hand over a resource to another state and make it scope to that new state the way we make use of that? I don't think so. I don't think we have, let's see. I don't think in 0.15 we have state scoped resources. We have state scoped events, which will clean up events if you're kind of like scattering them around before the next one. State scoped entities, but resources aren't entities yet. I don't think so. I don't think at this point in time that we have an automatic mechanism. For clearing or managing resources. We can just insert it. Like, I think what you're saying is like set with resource on next state, but like we can just insert the resource. So might be nice to have a set with resource, but like, I don't think we need one. So I think this should work, right? Unless I messed something up while I was doing this. Cool. So we get to the goal, and then we're just going to hard code a little goal event handler, I think. That's this. And then we want next state here. Res, mute, next state, level state. And I think for effect, we will not do this. So theoretically, I mean, the player isn't going to respawn, I don't think. And we don't have anything state scoped yet, which will be an issue. So when we do this, we should go into level spawn. Did we enable state scoped entities for level stuff? I don't think so. Substate. Enable state scoped entities for level state. We will have to spawn a player at some point. What is this? This is spawn point entity. Okay. We have a whole bunch of stuff we're not using in here anymore. Let's get rid of that. So in level spawn, I think the only things that we won't be respawning when we do this, if we put the we probably want state scoped level state level on the player. And we also want this on the level itself, which we have, and then we've enabled state scoped now. So theoretically, that should all work. We'll see. The code here is a little bit messy, so I might have missed something. There we go. This is a full loop. This is dropping you in to every single. I think the only thing that I'm concerned about right now is that the crate gets removed from the scene when you pick it up. It gets moved around a little bit. So I don't know if that's just falling or if that's actually respawning. Why do I want level state in multiple places? Can it get out of sync then? What do you mean by level state in multiple places? On the player and also in a resource. Oh, on the player is not storing like the state of the level. Let's go back to the player for a second. The thing we're doing on the player is we are scoping the spawned entity to that level. So whenever we go from level state level to something else, the character will despawn automatically. Like we don't have to do anything to make that happen. We're not actually storing any data here. We're saying when we transition out of this state, despawn the player. This state scoped is enabled by doing enable state scoped entities here on level state. So yeah, we're doing that for the character. We're doing that for the level scene, which should mean that, and I might want to make like a custom command because I feel like doing it the way that I'm going to do it right now is not going to be good in the long run. Oh, current level isn't public. Interesting. Pull this into scope. So theoretically, this should throw us to a different level, which might be broken. We haven't tried level 1 in a while. Can you make the user have to stay in the goal for a bit of time before sending the global event? Yes, that's just a timer, right? Oh, right. We're not using the... Hang on, let me let me make sure that I am not actually using the thing here. I guess if this is already set, then we've set it, right? So we actually don't need to do this here. I'm wondering if this is like either an event or a custom command or something in the future. And there we go. Another level. Ah, there's no collider on that. Yeah, there's colliders on these. I think there's a collider in the middle. Yeah. Collider on that one isn't sized correctly. Whew. All right. Yes, we can do that. Let's do this first. I don't actually know that I want this behavior, but it's useful for the moment anyway. Yeah, so let's talk about timers, I guess. So the goal event will fire, right? And so let's say we're in it right now. The goal event will fire. At that point, we would insert a timer. At the end of that timer, if you're still in, then we would transition. There's no UI to tell you that you have to stay in that area, though. Which makes me a little nervous about doing that before we have any kind of like UI set up. There's no goal in this one, so you can't leave that level. Let's add the examples. Let's add source. Okay, so not sure that the API is really the best. Not sure that the way that we have this set up is the best way to have this set up. But we can now build out some levels. So I think let's do that for a second. Last time I tried to duplicate this and it didn't work. Data, object. So we need to have goal on wherever we're going to have a goal. Rigid bodies on any platforms that we have. And the crate and a player spawn. I think those are the critical pieces at the moment. Maybe we do basically the same thing, but we do a ramp to see if our character can even go up a ramp. This is basically the time at which, like, we've got a level loop, we've got a player, and we've got a mechanic. So the question is, how do you make that fun? So let's do a new scene. Let's name this level 3. Let's do cube. Modifiers, let's bevel this. 5 segments is kind of what I'm going with at the moment. So we get kind of like a rounded cube-ish. Let's see, in level 1, you had to pick it up and either throw it into, I guess you can throw it into the goal or you can jump over it. I think I'm eventually going to have like moving platforms and stuff. And then when you pick up the box, obviously things should happen and whatnot. Can we make a scoring mechanism that will give higher points depending on the place where you landed? The place where you landed. You mean like... how close to the center of the goal that you got? Like that kind of thing? It's not really like a target game, I guess. I don't think the throwing mechanic is, how do I say this? I don't think the throwing mechanic is accurate enough to make it a... Right, because like we have this, and at least right now, you can't land this cube on that spot. Right, like if I wanted to throw this on the third one, I really like don't think I can. It's very hard to control in general. So I think it's hard for people, at least in the current iteration, it would be very hard to do any kind of precision scoring. So I'm going to go with no for that for the moment, at least. I don't think there's anything that supports the player in doing precision throws at the moment. So if we were going to score it like that, we would have to change the way the throw works, which is fine. The throw isn't like an amazing throw or anything. Let's scale Y. And then maybe another cube. I think one of the questions is how do we do the collider for that if we're going to do it. So let's do G, Y, 5, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Make it same size, I guess, and make it, I don't know, like 3 deep. And then let's take GZ and do this for like a slight incline. I do think that one of the things that's going to get kind of annoying and handcrafted is going to be all the colliders for all of these. I think we have tri-mesh for mesh, so this should be fine. It's a little weird. Cube, GY. I'm going to end up wanting to link all these modifiers together. Okay, so we need a spawn point and we need colliders. Let's do empty, arrows, New. This is the other thing about doing. I don't think this is that. I think this is a Boolean. The other thing about doing like stringly based is spawn point is what I use. Okay, so we need to move the spawn point up a little bit. I don't think I care about having this flush with the geometry. Okay, so we've got spawn point. We need collision and goal. All right, so goal is just a cube. In this case, do I want to duplicate this? I think so. This is like a kind of specifically set up cube. So let's do scenes. Objects level 2. Shift D. No, Shift D. And then can we move this? I don't want to link it inside the collection. I want to move it. Drop object to scene. I guess link it inside and then what? Delete it from here? So now it's no longer here, but it is over here. Perfect. And hopefully that works. Do we have our custom properties? Maybe. Yes, we do. Perfect. All right, so aside from the collision, this level should work. So let's do the collision. Collider, cuboid, I think. Then cube size. And we need 1020 or 10220. Z is up in Blender, but Y is up in Bevy. So when we set this extra metadata, we're setting it for Bevy. Side note, you can make the cube bevel chamfered and not round, and make it look rounded with a hardened normal in the bevel modifier shading settings. Oh, I will try that. I was originally thinking that I was going to try to use a trim sheet and use custom created normals. So basically what you're talking about doing, I think, just in a trim sheet style instead of bevel modifier style. The thing that I realized from the 45-degree normal in the trim sheet that we were using, which I think we can actually still see because I haven't saved anything yet. and because we can get to the new first level now. So if I come over here, you can see maybe you can see, maybe you can't. You can see how the corner, like towards the bottom of the screen, the outline doesn't match the beveled edge. Like it looks weird. That's because the normal is creating that 45-degree like chamfered edge, but the outline still sticks on the geometry's outline. And it looks really strange from this perspective. So maybe the bevel would look different. But I think if I do something like that, I need to make sure that this effect doesn't happen, because this effect I feel like looks weird. Right? Like on the shadow on the middle one, I'm pointing like you can see me, but like the shadow on the middle one there, like it has that faint outline, and that's because the normals are different. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that what you're saying is just the automated, like, better version of the, like, handcrafted normals I was using before. So I think the result ends up being similar in the way that that won't get fixed. Or I would just need to figure out how to change that. Because if I do that, then I can change the... I don't know. We're using section textures for the outline, so we would have to color it in a specific way. I believe we could make that happen, but I can't think of a way in which I want that to happen. And then I need rigid body too, right? Platform, cuboid, cube size, rigid body. Cuboid, capital C, cube size. I will say this part is tedious. What was it? Static? Especially with the way my brain can't like remember exactly what I was trying to do. Okay, so can I copy these custom properties and paste them? Because I would love to not have to type these out every time. The only way you can think of that would fix the outline would be to have a straight cube without a bevel, but have a normal map texture to shade it like it is rounded. Yes. That's what the current implementation is. It's not rounded, it's chamfered though. It's like 45-degree angle, like I was saying. But the normal map doesn't affect the colors that we're setting for the section title. Or for the section texture. Because remember, the section texture is... post-processing thresholds. This. Right, like we're drawing all of those colors in. I don't think... Oop, that's not what I wanted to do. So if we go over to this area, these are all hard-edged colors. I could potentially add more geometry, or I could... Hukasu was saying the other day like maybe it would make sense to do a texture for these. And that's the only way that I could think of to fix that. Basically to handcraft the texture for the colors around the corner. So that you still technically have a cuboid, but all the textures and everything look rounded or don't get outlined. I don't know. But again, we kind of have that already if we just go with the regular version. Right, like the current implementation doesn't have outlines on those rounded corners. And I kind of like that. Like I don't dislike that. You get the black outlines on anything that crosses over. And then you still get the highlights on those edges, like on this box. I do apparently need to shade smooth that because it looks a little chunky, but so for this one, we'll do collider. And I forget what to call this, so I'm going to look at the code. Where did I put this? I put this in Blender types. And we called it try mesh for mesh. I don't know that this is the best option for this, especially performance-wise. I feel like I've had the most issues when I have like a ton of try mesh for meshes. But just the one should be fine for the moment. The one thing is that this does need to be on the mesh and not on the object. Collider. And then I'm like 50-50 on putting the static here or up there. We'll go here for the moment. And then this one needs on object. See how this is easily the most tedious part of this, because it's like, okay, well, four, 6, 20. I do feel like I could sync the dimensions automatically with an extension. That would be pretty cool. And then what's our last one? Our last one's the rigid body. Then hopefully I've spelled everything correctly, is basically the outcome here. So we export. Run this again to make sure that everything that was working is still working. Perfect. Everything seems good. Let's make the second level level 3 now. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't put a crate in that level. You cannot win this level. This is the endless level. So, crate. Crate is an instance. I don't think we have any extra data on the instance. So I think where is instance? We can find a collection instance. So as far as I know, that should work. Get to the end, pick this up, run, little bean, get to the end. And then at this point, we're just continually respawning the same level. But let's see if this stuff works. This should spawn right back where it was supposed to. Perfect. Player should be able to respawn. Perfect. So sweet. And then, like, yeah, you can throw stuff. There's no colors on any of these. So, like, where's our material? Right, like, random stuff. All right. Well, that is that. That works. I think today is going to be a short stream. I think I'm going to cut it pretty soon here. I do want to make a better version of this, like, how do I frame this? I want to make a better version of like the paint splatter that effectively happens when the cube is near something. I also think this cube is probably not the cube that I want. I think I want to move to colored cubes. So like different cubes would reveal different colors on the map. But yeah, for the moment, overall, fairly happy with the way that this is going at the moment. One thing that we didn't do is the outlines. I forgot the outlines in this level completely. Let's do the outlines before we go. We need to go to the mesh, create a new section color attribute that is color in face corner. We'll go into this. Select this face. Go to vertex paint. This is somewhere in like the 50%. So let's do set vertex color. Feels a little weird that. Why is that setting everything? Oh, because I'm not painting the right thing. Right. No, that's not it. What did I do? Face. I can never remember that. So let's do this one, I guess. Let's do this one. And if we export this, it should all work. Before stream ends, could you give a short summary on what Rust crates you used in the project so far? What do they do for you and what do they provide? Absolutely. Okay, so we've got our outline on this. That edge does look a little bit weird. I'm gonna ignore that for the moment. Okay, I'll do the other section colors later. What crates have I used in this project? I don't think we've used that many. We're using IS Progress and IS Perf UI. The IS Perf UI we actually don't use that often. We don't even have it enabled at the moment. IS Progress is used in tandem with Bevy Asset Loader. That is responsible for doing these. So we have a number of structs here. We don't have any audio assets or like random textures yet, at least that are outside of the GLB. So we don't have anything in those. But we get to specify asset collections, paths to them, what they're supposed to be. And then we take all of this and hook that up with some loading states so that we can actually do progress tracking for all of those loading GLTFs and stuff. This happens actually at the beginning of the app load right now, the beginning of the game. If I do this, I removed all unused stuff earlier. If I do this, and don't horribly mess it up. Haven't enabled this in a while either. Track fake long task is working. Chain run if. What is the issue? Method takes 2 arguments, but 1 was supplied for add systems. Oh, is print progress the system that's supposed to be there? Print progress, I don't think print progress is enabled at the moment. Yeah, we don't even have it. That feels so weird. I feel like I broke that. Hang on. Let me take a look at that for a second. As we have that example up over here, because we were talking about it earlier, right? So Bevy Asset Loader and IES Progress combine to do progress tracking. So we could actually have a loading status bar is what I'm trying to get to at this point. Yeah, update, track progress. I don't know when I removed update from that. That's weird. Track progress, states, that should be it. Print progress unfortunately doesn't exist because I don't know, I deleted it or something. Why did I delete that? Maybe I just went through and deleted a whole bunch of stuff. This should just work though. I should be able to just bring all of this stuff in and I want this in anyway, so. Okay, so if we run now, we still get one issue. Yeah, there we go. So this should work. Now we have like a long loading task. So at the bottom here, you can see that I have basically like a 4-second loading task, which is a fake load. Yeah, thanks. My parentheses. So we get the frame that we started on, how much progress has happened. So 2 of our tasks were done. 1 is being waited on, which is the long one. Eventually that finishes. So we end up with all of that data and whatnot. And I can kind of trigger this long loading state whenever I want to. Which should give me like, you know, like a progress bar and a loading screen and whatever, but we didn't implement that at all. But that's IES Progress and Bevy Asset Loader, 2 very useful crates. And if you're doing dynamic loading, I don't think Bevy Asset Loader works as well, but it's great for things that you know that you need up front. Bevy itself, we have the BRP or like Bevy Remote Protocol enabled and the File Watcher. That makes it so that we can like write in shaders and have it update while the app is running. Avian 3D is for colliders and sensors and physics. And then Bevy Tenua is a character controller built on top of a number of different crates, one of which optionally is Avian 3D. You can also do this on top of Rapier. But that's what we're using for the character controller in general. We aren't doing anything really interesting with the character controller at the moment, so maybe we add some more movement or something in the future. Bevy Inspector eGUI, we didn't take a look at that much this stream, but I have that bound to escape at the moment. And that's this window that pops up. So we can see everything in the world. Let's see. I don't think it'll work for the player. But if I go to the crate route and I go down to like transform, I can just move this, but the platform is pretty small. So lets you inspect and modify a whole bunch of stuff. I guess, yeah. Leafwing Input Manager we're using for input, which is like you can do direct keyboard to like behavior. But Leafwing Input Manager allows you to specify, see if we can find it in the code. Controls. Leafwing Input Manager allows you to specify a number of actions, which sort of abstracts the hardware that you're using from the thing that the player wants to do. So for us, I can do this either with mouse and keyboard, which is what I have been doing, or I think this is plugged in, and hopefully still work. Oh, nope, that's that's on a different computer. So my controller isn't plugged in, but we can use a controller instead and whatnot, which is cool. But that's Leafwing, dual axis controls, things like that. WASD versus dual axis. And then when you actually do your programming logic for game logic, instead of looking at like, is the stick bent 45 degrees to the left, you can see how much input is coming from any controller for this character. Same thing for run, jump, interact, etc. We don't look for, pressing O on the keyboard. We look for, did they jump? And that's it, actually. Very low dependencies in terms of like what we could be using, I think. But yeah, that's it for the Rust crates for now. These are like Leafwing Input Manager and Avian are like things I use all over the place. I think Bevy Tenua is something that I use for 3D projects currently. I'm not against the crate. It's fine as a crate. It's just, it is very complicated. But I think that's part of the domain for character controllers. And then Bevy Inspector eGUI is really great as well. So, yeah. And then we've got like a couple of utilities like Saturday and whatnot, but like those aren't really doing anything. That's going to be it for today, though. I'm going to go take a nap. Have a great one, y'all. I'll see you next week.